Let's get stuck in, guys. Hopefully this works. There we go. Okay. Yeah, radio. You can probably tell anytime I'm a wee bit late, well, quite late, 8 minutes, nearly 10 minutes late, it's technical issues. So I'm hoping everyone can see me and hear me on this. Well, you can definitely see me. There I am. And let me see, can you hear me? On this. Well, you can definitely see me. Okay. Good stuff. Okie doke. So as usual, guys, if you have any questions, feel free just to post away in the chat in YouTube there. I will be checking the Facebook group as well. Let me actually get that up and running. There's been a few new people who've joined the Facebook group over the last few days. We're only starting out, guys. I think there's less than 20 people in it at the moment, which is small and manageable because there's going to be quite a few things that I'll be uploading over the summer. Loads of free time and loads of stuff that I want to store in that community. So it means you can always just go ahead and download the files. So I'm just going to have a wee quick nosy in the Facebook community group. If you're not already a member, go ahead and join. There should be a link there in the YouTube chat. You can click on it and go ahead and join. Because anyone who's a member of the Facebook community is going to get free access to something that I'm working on at the moment, which you'll get to see today, which is the Accompaniment tool. So at the moment, I'm making it's basically going to work like an app, hopefully, if you're using the Zenler app. I'll show you guys where to download it and everything once it's ready. But what it's meant to do is replace metronomes and have something in your pocket that you can use to accompany yourself. So like almost like a wee live session that you can take with you anywhere. And what it's going to hopefully do is, as I say, replace the metronome, but also give you inspiration maybe to come up with your own tunes and your own practice speeds and everything. So it's just like backing tracks for all different types of dance tunes, all different keys, loads of different speeds. At the moment, I've only got the reel for 105 beats per minute, but in all different keys, and also just boron only. I've done the same thing for jig at 120 beats per minute, in all different keys and boron only. And I've done slip jig for 120 beats per minute in all different keys and a boron only. So I think there's something like 18 tracks. There's probably going to be close to 50 when it's fully done. And I'll be adding Irish traditional tunes on the whistle and eventually the flute. Hopefully if my flute arrives by Christmas. It's being made at the moment, and hopefully when it's finished, I'll be adding like flute tracks and tin whistle tracks to the app, so you'll actually have real music to accompany if you're a guitar player or bouzouki player or even Irish trad piano. You'll have some sort of database or library of real tunes recorded at different speeds that you can use to sort of help you if you're practicing. So it's going to grow a lot over the next year probably. But anyone who's in the Facebook community, you guys are going to get free access to that. Okay, so it's only like a $5 anyway once it's done. But so you're getting five quid off. But yeah, it'll hopefully be good to go soon. At least a trial run of it anyway. Okay, let me just see. I want to make sure that my audio is actually still working on of it anyway. Yeah. Okay, doke. So let me just share my desktop screen just for a sec after I've checked the group. There we go. Hopefully you guys can see this is the Top Score Music Academy community group. So at the moment, as I say, like, yeah, only 19 members in it at the moment, so it's nice and small. There will be more joining it, guys. Anyone's free to join. Okay, so it's really going to be a space for learning about trad music, learning about music theory, learning about music history, learning how to play the piano, learning even stuff like GCSE and A-level music for any students in the UK. So there's going to be it's going to be like a community of loads of different wee things. And if it gets too sort of unmanageable, I might split it up into little sub communities. You know, if there's at the moment everyone in it is just like for trad, which is great. And there may be one or two who are in for theory, which is good as well. So I do put like theory videos and things in here as well. But yeah, when was the last one? Modes, keys. I suppose that is more of a theory one. Yeah, augmented sixth chord, that is a theory one. Okay, so for anyone who's doing like grade 6, 7, 8 advanced theory, like, you know, they're going to come across these type of chords. So they're in there as well for everybody. Because I put all this stuff up on my website, and I'm just putting in links to the website really in the Facebook community group here. If you want to read more about those particular things, but most of it is going to be like this, you know, like here's the Sam Cormier's reel, and then how to sound authentic when you're accompanying Irish trad music, so stuff that I'm listening to. And this is the thing that I was talking about as well, the app that I'm making. I'll give you guys a little sneak peek of that, let you see how it's getting on. And also just YouTube stuff that I'm listening to as well. So guys, feel free to post your own as well when you join the community. Go in there and, you know, anything that you're listening to or anything you find useful for learning, tunes that you like, tunes you want to learn, any questions that you have, you know, or just to show off what you're playing, or any sessions that you go to. Yeah, you can post anything and everything in here, guys. Yeah, because you guys it's all part of your community. So at the moment, I'll just keep posting away. Okay, so that's the community group, and that's where everything's going to be from now on. There is a little section here, as you can see, called files. There. Okay, so that little part, and media, I suppose, but files is where I'm going to... Oh, someone's just asked to join the community. Sorry, 2 seconds, guys. Let me see. There we go. Yay. Okay, so we're fast. We're going to get there. We're fast growing. 20 members. Woohoo! So we're on the road. Where was I in this? Oh yeah, files. If I go into files just to show you what's there at the moment, it's not a lot. Like I only uploaded this stuff like back in April. So at the moment there's a tin whistle guide and there's a bouzouki guide. There's going to be lots of stuff here like over the summer, but I just wanted to make sure that it works. You know, that was just a sort of a trial thing. So if you went to the files and just hit like the bouzouki guide, for example, you should be able to download that. If I click on that, what happens? Oh yeah, it's asking me for permission to download it. And then that's it downloaded. 21 megabytes. Why is it so large? It's because of all the pictures in it. The pictures aren't that big. Or maybe they are. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Already okay. They will be. Yeah, because some of these are like 4K. Okay. Well, it downloaded quickly. So it may be a bit large. Is this like a bouzouki guide for practicing all the chords and everything? My God, how many pages is this? 44 pages. It's basically a book. And there's a practice journal in there as well, and little things to avoid, you know. So all the little tips and tricks that, you know, I've come up with over the years that I sort of tell students, and I just summarized it all down. The practice journal is one that that I made for all of my students. I was making one for trad, and then I was making another one for like classical, and I thought, you know what, I'll just combine them as a general music thing. Okay, so it isn't really specific for trad as such, but it's just it's a practice journal, you know, for anybody practicing any instrument. Okay, so it's for my piano students as well as my tin whistle students. So you'll get unknown quotes, and quotes from Mozart are in there, as well as Plato about music. So it's just basically the musical quotes of the day. You know, just it's not really anything to do with trad specifically. So that's just a little practice journal. Yeah, it doesn't take up much room. But the rest of it, like all of this, is all to do with the bouzouki. Okay, so there's quite a bit in there. And I wouldn't expect you to go through all of that, guys, you know, over the course of a month. It's quite a bit, you know, so take your time at it. Even though it does sort of split it up as a month thing, you don't have to do it in a month. There's another one there for tin whistle as well. So those are just 2 little freebie thingies. There will be a few others that I'll be adding. Anything that's appeared, I suppose, on YouTube lives like this, any handouts that I've used are going to end up in here. And I know where they all are at the moment. So I've got everything in folders on my computer, and I'll upload it all here. So when this is beginning to sort of be filled up with stuff, I'll let you guys know. I'll send you a little message and say, there's another thing that's dropped, another thing has appeared, another thing has appeared. Okay, and after a while, I'll just stop, and then you can, if there's anything you want to send, you're more than welcome. I can upload it as well. Okay, so that's the community. The app that I'm working on is this guy here. So I spent all day yesterday trying to fix one thing, and it was this. Yeah, you didn't see it. So it's basically when you guys resize this window, when you have access to this page, you should be able to, on Safari and Google, scroll up and down without it shaking. Safari has a bad rep for that when you have something that's stuck to the background, parallax effect like this, that it shakes when you scroll up and down. And I had to stop that because anyone who's using Safari would hate using this. So it's fixed. So this is basically almost good to go. Almost. I just want to check over a few things and make sure that the connections to this site are all good. But the actual tool is good to go. And as you can see, I'll just give you a brief rundown of what it is. I'll zoom in as well, actually. So, Irish traditional music practice tool. Choose a dance type, a key, and a tempo or speed. Then practice with a steady Irish traditional music accompaniment. Okay, so at the moment, everything is there. Everything that I've uploaded. As I said, there's only 18 tracks on it at the moment. There will be at least 50, and maybe even more, because I've only got jig, reel, slip jigs. I will be adding waltzes, mazurkas, hornpipes, slides, polkas, maybe even Strathspeys in there. Every single dance type that or barn dances or something, I'll be adding them all in there. All of the keys probably won't change. These are like the main keys that I've come across: D, G, A, E, B, and F sharp. Notice I haven't said it's D minor or D major or Dorian or Mixolydian, the stuff we're going to be looking at today. That it doesn't really apply here because you can use the D accompaniment for any D. You can use it for D Aeolian, D major, D Mixolydian, D Dorian, D minor, D Aeolian, whatever you like. It'll work with anything that's in D something. Okay, because the way that I created this is that you won't hear any F sharp, if I can actually play that. So the only notes you'll hear in the accompaniment be something like those notes. Okay, so you won't know if it's D minor or D major. So you'll know when you play it that you can actually play any tune in D. Okay, so it's not specific to key, it's just specific to tonic. Okay, so anything in D, anything in G, anything in E, anything in B, anything in F sharp. And if there's other things that you guys want as well, if you say, I play quite a few tunes in E flat or something, then I'll add accompaniment for E flat as well. It might take me a week or two because I have to record all of these individually, but I'll get it up there. It's no problem. Or B flat or something. Or C. Like those are other tunings for tin whistles, but like these would be the main keys that anyone should be able to play in without changing instrument to like a D flat or an E flat or a C or a B flat whistle. Just your standard tunings, okay? So over time, I'll probably add more. The speed, the tempi, at the moment, it's only 105 you can choose or 120 that you can choose. So if I wanted to say everything that's at 105 beats per minute, I can just click on that and it'll probably just be the reels. Yeah. Those are the only ones that I've recorded so far at that speed. Okay, so, and also there's 120 there, which is all the slip jigs and jigs. Okay, so say I just wanted to practice anything in the key of G. Well, it's now giving me 3 options, 3 tracks. If I zoom in so you can see it. There we go. So we've got a jig accompaniment in G, a reed accompaniment in G, or a slip jig accompaniment in G. Let's try the reel accompaniment. And that's in G. Let's see if that's coming out. Yeah, okay. So we can definitely hear it there. You guys should be able to hear that as well. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so let's see if we can play along with a couple of tunes in G. Now, if I was to change over to my tin whistle, I should be able to do this quite easily now. Microphone, yep. And now tin whistle. Okay. Testing, testing, tin whistle, testing. Let's see what that sounds like. Let's see what... It actually sounds okay. I hope... That's not bad. Yeah, it's hard for me to hear it because I don't hear what you guys hear. Everything has to be, you know, delayed and that sort of stuff. So I'm sort of half guessing most of the time that I'm in time with myself. But when you guys have access to this, you don't have any of that to worry about. So when you get access to this over the next week, yeah, it's going to go live over in the next week. You should be able to play along with this. You know, you're not going to have to worry about making sure everything's in sync the way I do. It's going to be 1,000 times easier than what I'm trying to do here. You don't have to worry about making your tin whistle line up with what's coming out of the computer. You just play along. You practice along. Okay? So it may be a bit tricky for anyone who's beginner because like 105 and 120 for the jigs and 120 beats for the slip jigs, that's not exactly like session speed, you know, the full session speed, you know, where it's like you're going hammers and tongs at something, you know, like a full sprint. It's not at that speed just yet, but it's not far off. You know, it would be sort of accomplishment level that, you know, you're just running through tunes you already know, and you just want nice accompaniment. The last thing you guys don't want to do when you're practicing is this. When you've got like a metronome and you're just doing, like if I push that back to 105, the same speed that we were just doing. That's extremely boring and dry. Yeah. Okay, so you don't want to be practicing to just this. The way I would have done it, you know, back in the day is practicing along with a metronome. Some students still will prefer that, I reckon, you know, just to have the nice regularity of the click. But I think it's nice to have like a session in your pocket that you can just, you know, press play and just immediately have like borons and percussion instruments and guitars and bouzouki sort of practicing along. And each of those files, guys, lasts 10 minutes. Okay, it's not the same the whole way through. So it's like there's little sort of things that I've recorded, little ornamentations and little rhythms, and the boron rhythm changes quite a bit. So it's not the same thing exactly the whole way through. Maybe after like 5 minutes, it will just sort of starts feeling quite repetitive, but it's meant to. It's the background. There's no tune that you're ever going to learn that's going to last 5 minutes in a real life session. You know, the accompaniment will change key naturally in a real session. So in your practice, though, you may just want to have that nice regularity in the background, and that's what this app's going to do. And I'll also say I will be posting in my own tunes like you just heard there on the whistle, so they will make a wee appearance over time as well. Okay, so we're moving away from the metronome and having like a nice sort of trad metronome, I suppose, for want of a better phrase. Okay, so let's use it to set a couple of things down. The stuff that I want to talk about today is going to be on the Dorian and the Aeolian mode. Okay, so that is going to be our topic of discussion, is the Dorian and Aeolian mode. What are modes? We're going to do a little brief sort of introduction about what modes are. And then the question that a lot of students ask, especially anyone who plays bouzouki or guitar or piano, and they're trying to accompany Irish traditional music, they can usually hear it when they're in a major key. You know, they can usually hear that quite easily. Or if they're in a minor key. Just checking to see if is that coming out okay? Yeah, it should be. No harm in checking, just to see. No harm. Discussion is the door. They can usually hear it when. Yeah, it's coming through okay. Radio, so that you guys should be able to hear my piano. Most students can hear that as a minor chord. It sounds serious or sad or melancholy or whatever you want to call it. And the major, a bit brighter, happier, more stable. So most students tend to get that just by experience. It's not really something that's taught unless it's, to real small young students the first time they're doing it. But for you guys, for anyone who's like a teenager or adult learner, you're probably already able to know when you're listening to a piece of music, well, that sounds, a bit more serious or sad. Like there's a change of mood to the piece. With Dorian and Aeolian modes, though, they both sound like they're minor, so you have to look at other differences. You have to look out for other things. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. So what the heck are modes, and how do you hear the difference between the Dorian and the Aeolian mode? Okay. So if you're interested in the app, guys, do let me know in the Facebook group. So if you sent me like a little email or something just to say, yeah, just when it's good to go, send me the little coupon for it and you can test it out for me. But what we're going to do is use it today just to lay down some tracks, just so you guys can hear tunes that are in the Dorian and Aeolian mode. Now, the book that I used for this, if I just show you guys, is this one. So 100 Essential Irish Session Tunes, Mali Presents. This is the publication. This is an old book, but it's a more up-to-date book than the one that I used. So this book's still about, I'd say 15, 20 years old. And the one that I used had a different cover, but it was exactly the same, and it goes back even further. So when did this first come out? Yeah, 1995. Yeah, I think that's the version that I had. So I went through this book and pulled out all the tunes I could find in the Dorian and Aeolian mode. And the Congress reel is one we're going to look at. Okay, so I'm just going to highlight that. And maybe the Tar Road to Sligo. Is there any others? That'll do. Okay, so let's listen to... Yeah, we'll do this two ways, actually. I'm going to get the Tar Road to Sligo audio good to go. There's a couple of wee extra things I'm going to be uploading soon. And one of them Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to do just, let me see, like a boron rhythm for one of them. I'm going to do the boron rhythm for the Tar Road to Sligo, just to let you hear it, you know, plainly with a rhythm. But for the Congress reel that we're going to record now, I'm going to use the reel in A to help me with this one. So not reel in G, reel in A. Let's change it over. And let's make sure I get my tin whistle audio. I always have to remember to do this. I'm hoping the guys who make this app, Loopback, figure out a way of making this work with my Stream Deck so I don't have to keep going into it like this and just press a button and I can switch over, like just do from this. So it's tin whistle audio now. Okay. So let's see if we can re-record some of this as well while we're at it. Yikes. I'm always a wee bit iffy with this arm. There we go. Trying to get it out of... I've got two cameras set up, so I'm trying to get it out of the way of one of the cameras. There we go. Anyway, so hopefully you guys can still... You'll just see this. But the camera that I've got for recording is like a square box underneath my chin. So, yeah, that's what we're going to be using for recording. So if I just hit record, yeah, radio. So let me go back to desktop so you guys can see. And let's just play along. Okay. Now, let me hear. Was that in any way in time? Okay, it's not bad. It's not exactly, I think, you know, we could do better, but we will get better at it. Okay, let me see. So if I just take that out of the way, just so it doesn't get in the way of the rest of the thing. Now let me see how that's turned out. If I just hit that, just do this for a sec. Okay, we should be able to See how we get that recording. I think is the whistle. Just gonna double check. Yep, that's me on the whistle. Oh, a bit of the book made it in there. Okay. Radio. So the video is good. So that's the first track. Let's check, make sure my whistle's still going. I think you guys should still be able to hear me nice and clearly. I always just check. Let's check, make sure my whistle. Yeah. Radio. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to record another tune, a jig, but this time I'm just going to do it with just the rhythm accompaniment. Okay, so there only are 3 versions of this: the jig, the reel, and the slip jig. But of course, there'll be one for hornpipe, polka. All the other dance types will eventually make it in here as well. So you can see hopefully how easy it is to sort of navigate around, from one thing to the other. Like if you zoom way out, all you get, the picture in the background doesn't change. It just gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So you can zoom in and out, to make it within reason, to make it easier. No one's going to want it that large, hopefully, unless you're on a mobile phone. It'll be that big. But we'll just zoom out a wee bit more. There we go. And the one that we're going to look at then is the jig rhythm. If I just press play, so just play away. There we go. Rhythm only. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's Tar Road, wasn't it? Tar Road, Sligo, yeah. Here we go. And as I say, that'll go on for another, 8 minutes or something. Let me just check audio. It's always interesting to see how does it compare. Now this is just the bar on rhythm. It's always interesting to see how. Yeah, okay. That's unfortunate. The little bring was my tablet. Let's see. Yeah, I wish I'd put my tablet on quiet. I'll record that properly at another stage then, because the tablet, unfortunately, there was a little bloom halfway through it. Okay, but for our purposes, that's all that we need. Let me just see. What I'm going to do now is, if I just put those into folders, this is the Ask Me Anything today. Let me just retitle that. Yeah. Ask Me Anything. And I'm just going to put those in there out of the way. That's stuff for me to work on later. So what I might do then is just record it without the video. Just record the audio. The way that I do that is just with Audio Hijack here. And if I just hit run, there we go. Here we go. Testing 1, 2. Okay. And let's do the other one as well. Go back to the reel in A. Just remember to turn it off. That's the only thing. Yeah, because it will go on. It won't stop until you hit pause again. Or until you select something else, something different. Okay. Well, hopefully I'm demonstrating to you guys how easy it's going to be to use this app once it's done. It's literally just click what you want and press play and then just practice. As I say, the speed is probably going to be the main limiting factor, and I will introduce, that's literally the next thing I'm going to be doing. Before I get anywhere near polkas and slides and hornpipes, I want to do jigs, reels, and slip jigs all at different speeds. Just because I think they'll make up about 96% of the session tunes. There are going to be some places like, Sleeve Looker area, of course, where polkas and slides and things are far more common, but most sessions, in most places, it's jigs and reels that make up the vast majority, even the books that we're using. Okay. No more tin whistle then. On to the bouzouki. And we're back into normal audio. Okay. Yeah, so that's normal sort of size there. Okay. Right, let's have a looky loo and see what we're doing. So if I was to just briefly go through some of the things about modes. We've kind of looked at these before, but I just want to make sure that everyone's okay with what the different types of modes are. A mode is basically like a scale. Okay, so it's the pattern of tones and semitones that you get inside of that scale. Most students, when they're learning music, the very first scale they learn will be something like C. If you're on piano. If you're learning tin whistle, probably on the D whistle, the very first thing you're going to be learning is the D scale. As you guys can see, that's got a couple of extra notes in there. The F sharp and C sharp. So like that whistle that I was using earlier, like for learning all those tunes, or playing all those tunes, recording all those tunes, it was the D whistle I was doing that on, because that's your starting key, that's your standard key for trad music. So this is the D major scale because we're using a particular pattern of tones and semitones. So a tone is just two semitones, as the name suggests. Semitone is the smallest distance that we have in Western music between two notes. So C to C sharp is a semitone. C sharp to D is a semitone. Add those two semitones together and you get your tone. So if I just make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see it far more clearly on the screen. Yeah, so there's your tone. So when we're doing patterns of tones and semitones, the most important one that you guys will be using in music is the Aeolian. Okay, so if I just activate, you see my paintbrush just to show you guys what that looks like. So the Aeolian mode. Okay, so you should be doing tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. So the C major scale then is a tone from C to D, tone from D to E, semitone from E to F, because there's no black note in between those two. So that's a semitone. It's the closest distance, remember, between two notes. And then between F and G is a tone. Between G and A is a tone. Between A and B is a tone. And then between B and C is your final semitone. And if I was to play that just as a scale, okay, so that's your C major scale. There's nothing really to that. That's like the most popular one that we use. But if I was just to move everything here up a little and say, okay, we're still using the tones and semitones pattern, but now we're starting in D. D to E is a tone. E to F sharp is your tone. D, E, F sharp. It's not D to E, or it's not E to the F. That's a semitone, remember, because those notes are right next door to each other. It has to be a tone we're looking for. So D to E is a tone. E to F sharp is your tone. F sharp to G is your semitone. G to A is your tone. A to B is your tone. B to C sharp is your tone. And then C sharp to D is your semitone. So that pattern is exactly the same in C. Same in G. Same in F. Same in G flat. Actually, that's F. Well, F sharp, G flat, yeah. So it should all sound very similar because you're using the same pattern of tones and semitones. So that's the most common pattern that we have. That's called the Aeolian mode. That is the most common key or scale that you have in trad music. It makes up like 60%, 66%, I think is what I worked it out as. I went through four different versions and different publications of these books. That's the 100 Essential that we were looking at earlier. There's this one, the 100 Enduring. There's another one, like 100 Popular. There's another one, yeah, 100 Evergreen that I've got there as well. There's another one like called the 100 Polkas. So I have like loads of those books, and I went through all 400 odd tracks just to pick out, which ones are Ionian, Dorian, Mixolydian, whatever. And Ionian, this mode that we're just looked at, that is by far the most common. That's like 2/3 of all tunes. Doesn't matter if they're jigs, reels, hornpipes, slides, polkas, doesn't matter. 2/3 of all the tunes in those books were in the Ionian mode. Either the D one, or if we move this down and start on G, the G Ionian mode. So what's that? Well, that's G to A is a tone, A to B is a tone, B to C is a semitone, C to D is a tone, D to E is a tone, E to F sharp is your tone, and F sharp to G is your semitone. Still tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. Still the same pattern. Okay, so that's the next most common key. So you've got your D Ionian mode, because it uses the Ionian mode. This is the Ionian mode we're looking at. Most people will just call it the D major or the G major scale. That's fine. It's the same thing. G major and D major are the same as D Ionian and G Ionian. There's no difference. Okay? It's just the scale is what you're talking about. When you say G major, you're probably talking more about the key. Okay? Like it has one sharp in it. At F sharp. So your G major scale has an F sharp. Or your G major key signature has an F sharp. Your D major key signature has F sharp, but it also has C sharp. Okay, so if we just move it back, play the scale. Whoops, try that again. Okay, so it has F sharp and C sharp. So there's two sharps in the key of D, but there's only one in the key of G. That's your F sharp. But they both use the Ionian mode. You end up with two different keys, but you're using the same mode. This is where students get mixed up and muddled up and befuddled and bedazzled and everything else. When they're talking about keys and modes, they're not the same thing. Keys is talking about the key signature, really, and modes is talking about the scales which will get you that key signature. So the Ionian mode, this tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, known as the major scale, gets you the major key signatures. Your D and your G. And also A would probably be if you're a fiddle player, A major and E major are, common enough as well for some tunes that you're going to be playing, especially A major. It's the next most common major after D and G. So again, you would just, if you wanted to know the A one, well, you just start on the A mode this time, or the A note. So A to B, tone, B to C sharp is your next tone, C sharp to D is a semitone, D to E is a tone, E to F sharp is your tone, F sharp to G sharp is your next tone, and then G sharp to A is your next semitone, your last semitone. So you've got 3 sharps. F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. So G major has the 1. D major has 2. And A major has 3. Okay, and you keep on going, you can add another sharp and get the E major scale, add another one, you get the B major scale, and so on and so on and so on. So you end up with different key signatures, but you're using the same mode. Those should be easy enough to hear. You'll get used to that. You've probably heard people practicing that, and you know, in films and television programs and stuff. And if you're ever passing a music room or somebody's practicing, especially singers, they'll warm up by singing their scales and arpeggios and whatever key the piece is going to be, just to get the vocal cords ready. So there's a lot of warm-up exercises for instrumentalists and singers when it comes to scales and stuff. And that's probably where a lot of this helps students, especially for technical, dexterity and moving quickly through scales and stuff. You'll be amazed how many pieces of music use almost exclusively scales and arpeggios. The movement in the melody is very scalic or triadic, like an arpeggio. Mozart used a lot of that in his pieces too. So the trick is to try and make a beautiful melody while using the most basic building blocks like that. So that's your Aeolian mode for D, G, and A, and whatever other key you want to apply. So just change the starting note, keep to that pattern of tones and semitones, and you'll end up with a major scale or using this Aeolian mode. Okay, that's the Aeolian mode. If we open up this, I'm gonna have to delete this, aren't I? Yeah, there we go. If we open up the Dorian mode, I've put up here what the tone and semitone pattern is now. It's different. Okay, so before it was the Aeolian mode, it was tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. This is very different. It's tone, semitone, then the 3 tones, then semitone and tone. So it's like everything's been shifted back. Okay, so the original mode would have been, I'm just going to do it all in red. Tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. That's the Aeolian mode, and look how different it is. It's with the Dorian mode, it's tone. The first 2 are the same, but then it's different for every single note that comes after that. It's almost like, for that, those 2 are swapped around. There's 2 tones that are the same, and then these 2 are swapped around. So it's very different pattern, and you end up with a very different sound to your pieces as a result. And that's what I was playing earlier with the Congress reel. So if we take that pattern of tones and semitones and apply it to starting on A, for example, you guys should be able to hear the difference that we get. Okay, so it's not the same as A major. Here we've got A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A. Okay, so writing in our pattern of tones and semitones. Tone, semitone, tone, tone. Yeah, let's put them in there. There we go. A to B is a tone, B to C is your semitone, C to D is a tone, D to E is a tone, E to F sharp is a tone, F sharp to G is a semitone, and G to your A is a tone again. Okay. So it's not the same as the Aeolian mode. The Aeolian mode would sound like this. The mode that we have here, the Dorian, and almost like you get a minor sort of feel to the piece as a result of that. So let me just minimize this just so we can look at some of these in more detail. Let me just see if I can make this as large as I can. There we go. Try and take up as much of the page. There we go. I can actually minimize that for a sec. And let's get the brush out of the way. I don't need the brush anymore. Okay. So you can see that all of this, A, B, C, D, E, F, sharp, G, and A, it's the same all the way down. So no matter what the tune is for A, Dorian, it's going to be the same notes you're using. Now, this is where it gets interesting. Is when you're listening to it, how do you know you're in A, Dorian? Well, the harmony should give it away. If I was to play it on the bouzouki just for a second, I'm going to play along with the Congress reel. Oh, I forgot which one's which. I think it's this one, is it? Yeah, it is. Let's open him up in Vision. Get rid of all that. Zoom in a wee bit. Maybe from here. Yeah. Get rid of all this. All this can be faded out. Everything from here on in can be deleted. Okay, let me see if I can just put it on repeat. See, where's the first? Here. Yeah, here. Oh dear, what have I done? Try that again. Here. There we go. Now, if I was to just put that one right back. Close enough. Okay, let me just file save this for a sec. Will be the best way. There we go. Okay, so again, same issue as yesterday. Actually, that's wee whistle is a wee bit out of tune. So I've recorded it. It's slightly sharp, and it's going to bring it down too. So the way that I do that is I just open pitch switch, just drag this guy in. Yeah, open up pitch switch, drag him in, go into fine adjust pitch, and just move everything down. Yeah, probably 0.2 would be enough, wouldn't it? Okay, let me just have a wee nosy at it now. If I just save that just for a sec. And I'm just going to save it same as what we had here. I think it's this one, isn't it? Should have named them. Yeah, let's do that first. Name them just to be absolutely sure that we're getting the right thing. Okay, so this is the real Congress reel, actually. And the other one is the Tar Road to Sligo, I think. So we listen to it. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, that's the Tar Road to Sligo. So we'll look at that one in a minute. As soon as we get this one sorted out first. Tar Road to Sligo. Put them up there. And now we can pull them down. Fine, adjust pitch. Bring it down 2 cents. There we go. Let's save. And now when we save it, it should be able to, yeah, just select that. And replace it. There we go. I love being able to do that. It's so handy. Because some of my whistles are a little bit out of tune. Slightly better, I think. Okay. Oh, bit sharp. Just now flat. Can't make up its mind. Oh dear. Okay, that's here. We can do better. Let's try and get him. It's still, as you guys can hear, it's a wee bit sharp still. So if we open this up and pitch switch again, let's take him down another one. Pitch switch down. It's not a full semitone. It literally is just like 3/10 of a cent now. Or 3 cents, I should say. Let me see. Congress rail. Yeah, save. Let's hear it this time. So we're closer to it now. Now here's the issue that we have. If I was to show you guys on the bouzouki just what I'm doing here, and just, yeah. And also maybe, I think it may even be worthwhile bringing in the app as well, just so you can see with the reverse chord exactly what's going on here. We've got the capo on 7. So right away, D, A, actually, D, E, A, and D is this the 4th course here. So first, second, third, 4th courses. So 4th course would be your D. Now the problem is that you think this is going to be, all the chords are going to be based off of the chords from this scale. That's A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A. That's going to be the main thing to watch out for. Okay, if we go back to the desktop, you guys should see that this scale, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, that's what gives it the Dorian feel. Without that F sharp, it would just be like an Aeolian sound. Okay, so that's the only difference between them. So you're thinking, oh, okay, well, all I'm looking for then is, in the Dorian mode, I'm looking out for chords that use F sharp, and in the Aeolian mode, I'm looking out for chords that use F natural. You know, a raised sixth, if you can think of it that way, F sharp, or a lowered sixth if it was F natural. Unfortunately, no. Going through all of these, sometimes it works, but most of the time it doesn't. You can see where I've written, but we have these chords in the accompaniment, even written into the books. Okay, so sometimes you're thinking, well, is that just, you know, the performers made them up? But those seem to be the genuine chords that come up quite a bit, like in the Congress reel. If I was to try and badly sing along to it while I'm playing it, let me see, and I want you guys to sort of try and hear the chords as I'm playing them as well. You should be able to hear the parts that have F natural in it, even though the scale has got F sharp. You're going to have parts in the music sometimes where the harmony is clashing with the melody. Which is actually quite standard in these types of tunes. So we have A minor at the start. Da 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 dum da da ba 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 bum. Da 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 dum da dum. And then we've got our G. Da 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 da. Da 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 dum, and then F. Now the F in this is tricky, so you can have dum, dum. There's our F. Ba 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 bum. So if I just show that, so you guys can see it. Let me see. That's our F. Da 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 da. So F, G, A. That's not theoretically. You're thinking, how are we getting F chords when the mode is producing F sharps in the melody? Okay, so you end up with two things happening simultaneously here. You're thinking, right, I've got the feeling of minor at the beginning. So, share my screen. A, B, C, D, E. That's the start of any minor sort of feel. Okay, A, B, C, D, E. What comes after that is the sort of important part. Okay, now that would make sense for anyone who plays tin whistle, for uilleann pipes, for well, any sort of woodwind instruments where you really do have to play F sharp. You haven't got really a choice. if you're in the key of D, if you're playing on a D whistle, unless you're half covering holes or something, you're going to end up with the natural things to end up with an F sharp. But if you're playing bouzouki or accompaniment on guitar or on piano, you're probably going to be using this chord quite a bit. And you got to be careful when you do that, because it may end up clashing with like an F sharp roll or something. You definitely don't want that. You don't want the melody doing F sharp and you're playing this chord. Da, not gonna sound good. It's hard to do that. That's your F, and you don't want F sharp. Okay, so where does that happen in the piece? Da 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 dum. When you've got those C's. C, B, C, D. So that. That's in the Congress reel. Ba 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 da ba da ba da ba da ba dum. Again, let's go back to the bouzouki so you can see it. That's the melody. Da da dum. So da da dum. That's where you're putting your F. C B C D E G E D C A B G A. So that is one way of playing it, but the main problem that we have is that that is kind of like the main way of playing those tunes, is to have that dum dum dum. It's almost like whiskey in a jar or something. When you hear that. That's kind of the indication to my ear when I hear that. Nyam, nyam, nyam. Is it going to be Dorian or is it going to be Aeolian? Both of them have that. Okay, so they're not minor, because the minor is actually da 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 da. The minor should have a raised seventh. That's C minor there. Or, sorry, that's the A minor with the G sharp to A. That's what C minor, or that's what A minor should be. Okay, it should have the G sharp here, so it's definitely not A minor. You're not using the harmonic minor version of it anyway. So it's not A minor. It's going to be A Dorian or A Aeolian. And unfortunately, most of the A Dorian and Aeolian modes are going to share the same pattern. You're going to hear this similar beginning anyway. Da 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 dum. A B C D E. Okay, so where are you going to be looking for the differences? It's what happens in the second half usually. That's the difference. Usually when you're playing in the Dorian mode, as you heard the whole way through the Congress reel there, you're kind of staying in A the whole way. Okay, so dip and do do dum. If I was to play along with the Congress reel there, you should hear, hopefully, if I put this back into Fission, it should never really move out of that mode. Where are we here? Okay, where's the end of this? This is the B section. Okay, so again, just there would be enough. Maybe just repeat it if I go from here. Just going to take out a little bit there, just at the beginning. Yeah. Just hear that repeat again. So it should be an A the whole way through. A Dorian. Okay. So it never changes. It's always going to be in A Dorian. And the same would be true if we were doing something in E Dorian. Okay, so like there's going to be a few others there, like the Cooley's Reel, or Toss the Feathers, Pigeon on the Gate, Morning Dew, the Tar Bolton Reel. These are all great. Drunken Landlady, Cup of Tea, Morrison's. These are all very, very well known jigs and reels in E Dorian. So it's exactly the same pattern. In fact, even if you zoom in on this, you guys should be able to see the little dashes between the pitches. I've color coded them for blue for tone and red for semitone. So it should be tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, tone. Regardless if it's starting on A or E, it should be the same. Tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone, tone. It's just because you're starting on a different note that you end up with different a different scale. So this is the E Dorian scale with F sharps and C sharps. Okay, so but it's going to be E the whole way through. If you're doing the other tuning, the Aeolian tuning, that only in trad music really starts in E and B. Okay, and it's this pattern. So it's tone, semitone, tone, tone, semitone, tone, tone. So again, very different from the tone, semitone, and then three tones, semitone and tone. So it's like a pattern for Dorian of tone, semitone, three tones, and then semitone, tone. So it's quite symmetrical. You could, or like a mirror image of itself, you could draw a line right down through the middle of that tone, and it's the same on either side. So there's quite a balance, I think, to the Dorian mode, whereas this one, it's a little bit lopsided. You know, that each side isn't exactly equal. Okay, so it's TST, TST, and then just another T added at the end. So the Tar Road to Sligo, you can see here, guys, that the thing that makes these pieces stand out a wee bit more is that it does change key. It sounds like you're starting off in B, and then you end up going to D. So for me, that's the difference. It's still going to sound like it's in sort of a minorish feel. It's like it could be B Aeolian, or, you know, if you're thinking of doing a tune in B Dorian, it could technically be that as well. But there's no real difference when you're listening to the beginning of it, like the first 5 notes. It sounds kind of minor, sort of serious feel. The ending isn't the same. You have different tones and semitones, but unfortunately, you have the same problem that we had before. Yeah, you have this sort of progression in the E Dorian where you had the F, G, A. You also have that same progression as well in the E Aeolian and the B Aeolian. So get used to hearing that. Da da dum. So if we do the same thing now for the Tar Road to Sligo, but starting in B. What would be the best way to modulate out of this? Let me see. If I just come out of this for a second and don't save anything. Yeah. Let's try the same thing. Tar Road to Sligo. Open with pitch switch. Yeah, just to move it down a bit. I move this in and then just options, fine adjust pitch. Yep, let's move it down. 3. Tar Road to Sligo. There we go. And that should be it saved. So now when we open this in Vision, yeah, I can get rid of all this. Let's get rid of that big pause at the beginning. There we go. Second part. Okay, so about here for the split. So if I just do this. Oh, too long. Okay, let's move them back a wee bit. That's good. Because there's a bit of a breath at the start as well. Okay, so let's see, can we hear the similarities between the Aeolian and the Dorian mode? You should still be able to hear that, you know, that da da dum, ba ba bum. So. Da da dum. That's what you're gonna hear. Da 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 da. In fact, if anything, it's far more prominent. That bum 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 is far more prominent in this because it does actually harmonize when you're in the Aeolian mode. That da da dum harmonizes quite well. So for that's B Aeolian. That would be your G, A, B minor. Da 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 ba 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 da 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 da. So hopefully, I know it's hard, like first time you guys, if you're doing this for the first time, but I'm hoping that you're going to hear that dum dum dum. You know, when you're playing along with a piece. Da da dum. Even if you add capo and did it in like a different sort of chordal pattern. Would be the easiest way to do this, actually. I think it is. Without the capo would be the easiest way of doing it. That's the B. Now if I was to go to A, Dorian. See, can you hear the similarity? here, we go back to the Aeolian. Okay, so what can we say about the B Aeolian, E Aeolian, these two, and the top ones, the more popular ones, the E Dorian and the A Dorian? There's a couple of things we can say. First of all, these are the two of the most popular tunings or starting pitches that we have for each of these modes. E and A are the main ones, okay? You will hardly ever, I don't think you will ever get like an Aeolian tune in trad music, at least not easily played, or at least not, it's not part of the standard. Okay, so if it sounds like you're playing a lot of A's in your tuning, whatever key you're playing, or whatever tune you're accompanying, it's probably going to be the Dorian mode that you're using, the A Dorian, okay? Because you don't really use the Aeolian in trad music, in Irish traditional music anyway. Similarly, you can say the reverse is true. B Aeolian is the standard way of playing in the Aeolian mode. You're very rarely, if ever, going to come across B Dorian. Okay, so if it's A, it's Dorian. If it's B, it's Aeolian. The tricky part in trad music is that E can be E Dorian, and it can also be E Aeolian. It's probably the least used key, though, E Aeolian, but yeah, it's possible. Lanigan's Ball is an example here. So that's the other thing then. So the first thing is that you are using two modes, Dorian and Aeolian. There are two scales based in each of those modes, so it's really 4 keys. And both of them sound quite minor. Minorish feel, whatever that means, guys, like a minorish feel. I'll play the scale for each of them and hopefully you can hear. Here's the B one. Actually, it might be a good idea to show you that on the piano as well, because you can actually see the scales. Yeah. Let's bring up the piano. So here's the B. Okay. That's the scale I'm playing there. B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B. So obviously your key chord. Da 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 da. We'll get to that. So yeah, G A B. Da da dum. If we go over to the Congress reel in A, so it's still the same thing. Just like in B minor, it was da da dum. So if you hear that it doesn't have the raised seventh like you would expect in a minor key, then you know you're using the mode. So like A minor there should be. And because you have the G sharp, A minor usually has the G sharp, you end up with different harmony. Chord 5 is your E major chord. As the G sharp resolving up, da-dum. You don't get that if you're using A Dorian because there is no G sharp. Okay, so you're not gonna use the E major chord. You're probably gonna be using like E minor, F, and G. Oops. And A. So. Okay, so that's the first thing as well. When it comes to the A minor feel to these pieces, is that it's not strictly the A minor that you're looking at, that you're normally looking out for, because normal A minor should have a G sharp in it, and with modes you don't have that. Okay, you don't have that raised seventh. So there's two big things about modes so far. Okay, you should not feel the seventh degree is raised and sliding upwards. Ta-da! You shouldn't get that. And because you don't have that, then the second major important thing is that you should feel this chord progression around the last three notes of the scale. Okay, so that's the Congress reel. Same thing then for the Tar Road to Sligo in the B Aeolian mode. Oops, sorry. Okay, so that's their similarities. They both sound like they're minors, but they both don't have that raised seventh. Da-dum. So you don't have the... You don't have that. Because you don't have that, you end up with the weird sort of 1, 2, 3. Okay, so that's a wee bit of a tricky thing to sort of wrap our head around, is that when you sometimes shout out in a session, what key are we in? What key is this? And someone shouts back, B minor or something. It's not. It never was. Okay, because especially if you're coming from like a jazz or a classical background and you're just learning trad for the first time, that's very confusing. Maybe not so much for jazz because you're used to modes, but from a classical background or, just sort of standard pop background where you haven't learned much in terms of theory, it can be very confusing when you're expecting to hear that da-dum. But you don't get that ever in the trad world. So the minor sort of sad sound, that serious sound, is based around off the da they naturals. Ba, 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 ba. Where if that was classical, it would be da 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 dum. Classical, whereas Irish trad modes would be more like anyone who's a Christy Moore fan will know that black is the color. Da, 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 da. It's all based around those three chords. Da, 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 da. I'm trying to do the Cara Dillon version of that, and I'm going to let you guys see what I've worked up. And if you can hear this, you should never sort of get modes and minor keys and that sort of thing mixed up again. You should be able to hopefully hear that dum dum dum. What's the Cara Dillon one here? I've got a transpose. I had to listen to her. I'm not going to play the original for you guys because it's copyrighted, of course. Go find Cara Dillon, Black is the Color, and you should be able to hear this. Da, da. There's the bum. Okay, and that's where you get the back is the color. Da dum da dum dum. Okay, and then later on it's more like this. I'm learning this on the piano at the moment. Okay, so that is the feel that you're looking for. It's not minor as such, but there's a more sort of seriousness to it because it's, and that's the same for all of these, for your Aeolian and your Dorian. Okay, hopefully I've established that at least. I know it's confusing looking at all these things. These are all just for me to sort of remind myself that these are all going to be in A, Dorian, and the ones underneath are all in E, Dorian. Okay, so they're both using the same pattern and end up with two different scales, but all of them should have something. In the Dorian, they're going to have chords that clash. Okay, so for example, in Toss the Feathers, there's in this one, if you're starting Toss the Feathers and you're playing it in E Dorian, the scale that you're using to get all the melody from that reel is E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, and E. But there's going to be plenty of occasions to put in a C chord, not the C sharp. So it's clashing, just like the F here was clashing against the F sharp, and the same thing here. And the Congress reel, we had the F clashing with the F sharp. As you can see, it doesn't happen in every tune, but it happens enough to make it noticeable that you can't just say that the harmony is based completely off the scale, the mode that you're using. Okay, there's going to be opportunities to use other chords just aside from the chords you can base off of the scale, and that does tend to trip students up the first time they're learning trad music. They think it's, you know, like the classical world, everything's going to be based off of the page, you know, what's written down, the actual melody. You can only use chords based off of the melody. No, modal harmony doesn't work that way. That's not the same sort of function as classical harmony. So F, G, and A minor chords. Black is the color. Okay. Even though we have F sharps in the melody. Okay. Same for the Aeolian. The B one. You're going to have G, A, and B at the end. You could even do black is the color. Da 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 da. If you wanted to. Put it into the B Aeolian, just put it up a step, a tone from A up to B. Okay, well, now that we know that Aeolian and Dorian share a lot in common, they both don't have the raised seventh, they both have the same endings to their chord progressions, they both have the same beginnings to their melodies, you know, the same first five notes, both of them sound quite serious and sad and minor. How do you tell them apart then, if they're both that similar, if there's so much overlap? Well, what I tend to find is that in the Aeolian mode, it modulates, there's a change of key, nearly always. All of these tunes, and they're not that many, I think these are nearly all of them that I was able to find out of 100 of the most popular session tunes. These are the only ones I could find in the Aeolian mode, and out of all of them, there was only one that was in the E Aeolian mode, and even then, that's a little bit of an unusual tune. There's a couple of occasions where you could put in C sharps as well, so it actually kicks it back into A Dorian when you do that. When you add the C sharp back in, you've changed the mode. But the main thing is that the ones that aren't too unusual and just the standard straightforward scale of Aeolian, nearly all of those tend to modulate into D major. Okay, let's see, can I prove it? If I bring my thing back up, and if I just bring in rhythm only and just have the reel. Okay. I'm just gonna play Musical Priest. Just get you guys used to hearing it. That was the Musical Priest. Longford Spinster. Kind of my favorite part, that little dum 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 jig, because the others I think are jigs. Shores of Loch Gyna, where is that now? Can never remember. As soon as I see the start of these tunes, I'm like, ah yeah, that's it. Tar Road to Sligo. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. the shores of Loch Gyna. Lanigan's Ball, why not? Rusty on that one. Okay. Shush. Radio. Let me see. So, if I just stop the recording there. I'm just going to open that. Then this is all the tunes we just recorded there. We did the Musical Priest, Longford Spinster, the Shores of Loch Gyna. I think we did Lanigan's Ball. I don't think we did the Tar Road to Sligo, but we've already got that recorded anyway. But when you guys are hearing this, I want you to try and listen out for the change of key that comes in the second half. It gets brighter. Okay, there's a modulation to what classical musicians would call the relative major, because B minor and D major share the same key signature. But we're not going to think of it that way, because we're not really thinking of this as B minor anyway. We're thinking of this as B Aeolian. Okay, so there is a difference. As we say, there's no raised seventh, there's no A sharp anywhere. Usually when you're dealing with harmony like we are for chords, for piano, for bouzouki, for guitar, you're dealing with the harmonic minor. And the harmonic minor always has a raised seventh, A sharp. But we're not dealing with that. We're dealing with modes. So it's a little bit different for us. Okay, what's this one? Let me see if I just do this. That's the Musical Priest. D major. Back to B minor. B minor. Yeah, so you should be able to hear. Then the second half, da dum dum, gets higher. So that's the brightness. Dum da dum da 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 dum 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 dum. So it's a bit fast, to hear it, but it is there. There. So that's one occasion where we're going from D or from B minor into D. The Longford Spinster, exactly the same thing happens in exactly the same place. We are moving from B Aeolian into D major. a wee break in the audio there. I'll have to look into that just to see if there's like a wee pause. But yeah, hopefully you guys can hear that. There goes major. Okay, so it does make its way back towards B minor at the end of each section, but you should be able to hear how the tonic has been pulled into a brighter place. So the B sections, this is the thing. And you guys should look out for this when you're doing these tunes. Look out for the Aeolian tunes that are in B and in E. If you're learning any tunes in B and in E, look out for the second half, the B section. It does tend to modulate or change key to something that's brighter or happier, positive or confident, whatever, something that's in the brighter spectrum. Okay, so if I was playing the chords to the Longford Spinster, yes, there's going to be lots of G's, A's, and B's, as you'd expect, just like there is in the Dorian. But what the Dorian doesn't do is this change of key. Yeah, so it happens quite a bit. See if you can hear just without me playing anything in the next tune. What is the next tune? Probably the jig, is it? Yeah. Sure, there's a lot going on. Change the key. It's not the best recording, but you get the idea. So, to summarize then, everything that we looked at here, based off of all the tunes that are in the most essential, what can we safely say? Both the Aeolian and the Dorian, I'll do it the other way around because Dorian's more common, or it's more popular. Both the Dorian and the Aeolian modes have the following. So number one, they're not minor, so no raised sevenths. So technically, they are not minor, because if you're talking about harmony, you should be using the harmonic minor, and the harmonic minor always, without fail, always has a raised seventh. The melodic minor, that's something different. But we're talking about chords that we're adding to a melody. Okay, so we're dealing with the harmonic minor. So there isn't a feeling of minor really, because there's no raised sevenths. So where does the minor feel come from? Well, both have the same minor feel at the start. So the first, second, third, fourth, and fifth degrees of the scale. Now you can see that's what you'd expect when you're using tone, semitone, tone, tone. Same down here, tone, semitone, tone, tone. So you're going to end up with the same sort of feel at the beginning. No matter what note you start on, if it's B, you're going to have a tone, semitone, tone, tone. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, do, re, mi, fa, sol. Do the same thing for A. Tone, semitone, tone, tone. So there's your Aeolian. Sorry. There's your Dorian. And here's your Aeolian. There's no difference. They both sound the same. Just like what we did earlier at the very start when we were looking at the tone and semitone pattern for major scales and just applying that to different starting notes each time. We ended up with the, C major, D major, G major scales. Same thing for the Aeolian and the Dorian is that they have the same first 5 degrees of the scale because of this tone semitone pattern is going to be the same at the start. The STT here for Aeolian is different from the TST here for the Dorian. Yes, but here's the thing. This does produce different ending. Yes, you end up with the F sharp. Harmonically, though, you're still using F quite often in these tunes, which is weird. I know it doesn't make sense when everyone else in the session is playing, something that has lots of F sharps in the actual melody, but there's so many opportunities for you to do the F, G, A. If you don't do that, what you tend to, if you do include the F sharp, you're not going to go, as is too weird, to the F sharp major, to G major, to A. You don't really have that sort of parallel movement. So what most people tend to do is if they're going to do that F sharp in the harmony, what they tend to end up with is a D chord. So D, G, and then there, A. So that's common as well for sometimes for these tunes here, like the knotted chord or the Sligo Maid or the lilting banshee, that there will be opportunities to put in D chords instead of F chords. So depending on what way you want to harmonize it, if you're using F natural, you're going to have an F chord doing that progression. If you're going to use an F sharp, it'll go D, G, A minor. Going back into the 90s sort of trip hop stuff. Okay. So yeah, that's the thing, is that even though the endings are different, they end up with the same da-da-dum. You have that in the Dorian. You definitely have it in the Aeolian because it doesn't clash at all. It's exactly what you'd expect because the ending is just G-A-B. G-A-B. Yeah, that's what you're expecting. Okay, so the endings is the ending chord progressions. Ending chord progressions are often, not always, are often the same. So you have this, I suppose the way you could think of it is like tone, tone, yeah, 2 tones. And the same for, yeah. I'm just going to change this over to automatic. There we go. Whoop, missed that. So yeah, ending chord progressions are, yeah, I should probably, what's the best way of saying this? Chords often harmonizing. Yeah, that's the way of thinking of it. Harmonizing the end of the scale often leads to similar harmonies. So a whole tone away. So in the case of the Dorian mode, we're going to do A Dorian as an example. For example, A Dorian. Let's just bring him down here as an example. So for example, A Dorian often uses F, G, F, major, F. I'm just going to put in the, I'm not going to bother writing everything. F, G, A. Okay. Even though the melodies contain F sharp. Okay, so I know that's confusing, but that's the nature of modal harmony, is that you can bring, depending on the context, that's why it's not always going to happen. Like half of these tunes don't have the F, G, A minor, but F, G, A minor, F, G, A minor, F, G, A minor. And sometimes it's the other way around, like A, G, and an F, although I think D sounds better in this particular tune. And again, F, G, A minor. So it happens on enough, and also in quite famous tunes like the Congress Reel, the Farewell to Ireland, the Old Copperplate. Like those are some of the most common A Dorian tunes that exist. And for them to contain the possibilities for F major chords against F sharps in the melody, it's noteworthy. Okay, so definitely worth keeping that in mind, is that you're not always harmonizing the melody exactly as you'd expect. So it's a bit tricky. Let's do one from the other side. And let's try and just keep it the same. B Dorian often uses successive tones. Can't spell. There we go. Oh my goodness, come on, Declan. There we go. B Dorian often uses, as we can see, G, A, and B. So G, A, and B minor chords, as you would expect in this case, because they're in the melody. These notes are in the melody this time. I'm just going to increase the width of this document. It's a wee bit annoying that everything gets pushed down into another line so early. There we go. Don't need that. There we go. Okay. So how do you tell them apart? The best way to hear the difference is to ask yourself, does the tune, well, first of all, if you're playing it on a whistle or flute, it's actually not too hard to do this, because if you're playing A, it's always going to be Dorian. And if you're playing around B, it's always going to be Aeolian. And the tricky part is the E. Well, if it's E, it's probably, I'd say 99.9% certain that it's going to be E Dorian, because E Dorian is 100 times more popular than E Aeolian. That's the only tune I could find, and even that does have the odd little C sharp in it here and there. So it's sort of, it's only borderline E Aeolian as it is, so they're rare. They're super, super rare, those tunes. So the chances of you having to sort of make a decision, a split-second decision during a session or a live event, and getting it wrong is remote. The tunes themselves happen so rarely that you'll probably have learnt the tune because there's not that many of them. There really aren't. There's maybe in the whole repertoire, maybe a couple of dozen E Aeolian tunes that are famous enough to be played in sessions. At the most, a couple of dozen. You could learn them in a weekend, Lanigan's Ball is barely one. So E Aeolian. So the best way to hear the difference is ask yourself, does the tune stay in the same mode the whole way through? So if yes, then that's going to be Dorian. And if no, that's going to be Aeolian. Sorry, it's a wee bit messy here. There we go, that's better. Okay, so there should be no. What's the other things we could surmise or summarize here? There should be no standard tuning for B Aeolian. Oops, other way around. B Dorian or A Aeolian. B should always be Aeolian, and A should always be Dorian. There we go. E can be either, but as we just said, E Aeolian is the rarest tuning of all. So if you have to guess, if someone says E, and you have to guess, it doesn't sound like E major to you, it's probably E Dorian you're going to be in. Okay, and remember, I still can't spell successive. Where's my C? There we go. And remember that when you are even in E Dorian, you're going to be using a lot of the whole two tones away from each other at the ending of each phrase. And that's going to clash sometimes depending on the melody. So you've got to be careful. Keep a wee eye out for that. Learn your tunes in E Dorian and try and listen out for, does it sound like it's going to be using a lot of that. Okay, so if that's the case, is there any ones that we can find here? Toss the feathers. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. So that sort of movement. C, B minor, A. And you're not expecting to see any C chords in a piece that is based off of C sharps in the melody. Okay. I think that's more than enough covered there. Just going to separate these out a wee bit. I will tidy this up and put it in as a proper handout for you guys eventually. But at the moment, I just sort of putting it in here as some rough work for me to sort of make it a wee bit more interesting and engaging. Okay, so does the tune stay the same the whole way through? That's the big question. Okay, there should be no standard tuning for B. There's B, that should not exist. B Dorian or A Aeolian. Let's put strike throughs. B should always be Aeolian. A should always be Dorian. E can be either, but it's more than likely, far more likely. And let's have a look to see what I mean by that. Far more likely to be Dorian than E Aeolian, which is the rarest tuning of all. Let's prove it on my very basic wee research when I was doing this. If I went into part 3 here, I think it's this, yeah, this handout right here. Let's look at all the modes lined up next to each other. So, the Ionian, as we said at the very start, the D and the G, and even the A, look how much more common and how much more popular they are. Like, and out of those 4 books, nearly 40 of the tunes were in D Ionian, in book 1. In book 2, it's just under 30, nearly 35, 34 from the looks of it for the other 2 books. So out of 100, you're talking like a third. And then maybe even another third are going to be G Aeolian, and a couple are going to be A as well. So broken that down into a table, out of 100, 100, 100, 100, there's the 4 books: 100 Essential, 100 Enduring, 100 Popular, 100 Evergreen, 39 tunes, nearly 40 tunes were in D Aeolian, another 18 were G. There was none in A in this book. Some books have quite a lot, so others don't. But overall, yeah, 136 out of the 400, 136 were in D, 121 were in G, and 13 were in A. Add those all together, and you're talking 67.5% of the 400 tunes I looked at. Over 2/3 were Aeolian mode. The next most common is the Dorian. Okay, so the Dorian mode is the next most common, making just over 17.25%. Okay, so that's why I always say E Dorian is the most likely, because when you get down to the E Aeolian and the B Aeolian, it's only like 4%. Okay, so add the 2 of those together, it's 6.25%. It is extremely rare to see those. In fact, in the 100 Essential, Lanigan's Ball was the only one. And as I said, it did have some C sharps, so technically speaking, it's not pure Aeolian the whole way through. So the very bottom, and E Dorian is far above it. Okay, far above it. Okie doke. Yeah. Let me see. So guys, that's kind of our look at the... Let me just put this to live for a wee second. Oh. That's kind of our look at the modes, the Dorian modes and the Aeolian modes. I'm probably not going to go into it for quite a while again, because we've already done a good few lives on this. There's quite a few blogs on the website on this, so we've looked at this quite a bit, you know, over maybe 3 or 4 different classes, and some of those classes are lasting up to like 2 hours, so it's, you know, it's quite a lot that we've done on just modes, nothing else. So we're gonna leave sort of the heavy theory stuff behind for a while. And if you have any questions on it, do let me know, but I'll probably just answer them straight to you rather than make another video. And if anyone, you know, is asking, do you have any materials on this, I'll probably just give them the handouts that I have, or direct them to the videos, the lives that are going to be up on the YouTube channel. So you're more than welcome to ask me anything about them. But as I say, I probably won't be making another video on modes for a good while, unless there's a lot of people who are still interested and keep asking me for more information, more, then yeah, I will. But for the moment, we're going to leave modes behind. We're going to let it just chill for a while. Okay. Let's have a look-see. What is this? Yeah, I'll get a nicer recording than that, I think. Let's end with some tunes. Tar Road to Sligo and Congress. Yeah, those 2 were actually okay, so I'm going to keep those, along with the Dorian versus Aeolian handout. Okay. Let's try something as a jig. Maybe we've done quite a few reels and stuff. Let me see reels. I just want all the keys for a sec, just to see what do we have here. Maybe something in G's always fun. Here we go. to look into that to see if there's a wee glitch or something in the audio. There's a wee beep. That's happened a few times. I'm gonna have to check out these files that it's just jumped or skipped or something. that happened again. Okay, I'm glad I've done this, because it seems to me that there's a wee skip. Yeah, that the audio is not playing all the way through. I have to figure out what's going on. Anyway. Radio, we shall leave it there, guys. That was more than enough. I only really wanted to go over the differences there in the Dorian and the Aeolian rail, and we covered quite a whack. Also went through other things like being able to go through the actual app and figure out there's a couple of wee bugs still in the system. I think just from hearing that audio playback, I try to play with it. That after about, let's say, about 4 minutes or so, that it just went beep. There's a wee sort of break in it, so maybe there's something wrong with the audio file that I'll probably have to replace them. But we'll see. It didn't sound that way when I was recording them, so hopefully they're okay. It'd be horrible to have to record them all again, but I didn't hear anything wrong when I was recording them. Okay. So, as I say, that's the end of our look into the Dorian and Aeolian modes. I will post this as a little handout, as I said, into the Facebook group. It'll be under files in the community group. Anyone else you think is going to be interested in the app, the practice tool that we were just going through tonight, yeah, get them to join the Facebook group and the Facebook community. And if they're interested in this, I'll be giving it away for free to anyone in the community, just to test run it for me before it goes properly live, and I start adding more and more to it over the years. I need to get the audio right for what we have so far. Okay, and yeah, I shall be back again next week, guys. And we sort of jump into sort of more regular stuff of just learning tunes and counterpoint like we used to. So we've been kind of like trying out new things over the last few weeks, just to sort of let you know what I'm up to. But we'll go back into the routine again next week. And yeah, I shall see you all then. So it'll be on Tuesday, 6:15, and every Wednesday at 5 o'clock. So look forward to seeing you. Like and subscribe, and yeah, I shall see you again next week. Take it easy, guys. All the best.